Well, now let's take a look at what's making headlines in some of today's newspapers with Alison Sargent, who's on set with me. Alison, good morning.
Hi, Nadia.
You're going to be starting us off then with our top story today, the impeachment of Donald Trump. Tell us about some of the reactions in the American newspapers.
Well, Nadia, it's another historic impeachment, which means another historic round of front pages of the papers to go with it. What's interesting is a lot of papers have just taken their same headline from the last time Donald Trump was impeached and updated it. USA Today's headline back in December 2019 was simply impeached. Well, now it's impeached twice. On the lower half of the page there, you can see the breakdown of the vote this time on top versus the last time down below. And you can see on that upper arc that those 10 red dots have migrated across the aisle to make this a bipartisan conviction. And in an analysis on that front page, the paper writes, this time the entire nation rebuffs its president. Moving on to the Washington Post next. Last time their headline was Trump impeached. Now it's Trump impeached again. It's also worth noting that they've printed an excerpt from the article of impeachment on their front page. It's just in between the headline and the header. In that photo there, also, we see House Speaker Nancy Pelosi presiding over this vote. And what many papers have noted is the exact same outfit that she wore during the last impeachment. Now, you might seem like, say that's kind of a superficial thing to notice, but these decisions do have quite a lot of symbolism, and they are intentional, and her office has confirmed that it is the exact same outfit.
Lucky black dress for Nancy Pelosi, Alison. This, though, then, just the first step in the impeachment process. The next would be that trial in the Senate, and you say that in the papers there are some mixed feelings about whether that step should go ahead.
Yeah, this House vote really had bipartisan support, as we saw, but the Senate vote, which would have major consequences, is getting a much more mixed reaction, and we can see that playing out in the papers already. The Washington Post editorial board is calling for a trial in the Senate before Joe Biden takes office. What you're looking at here is the conservative Wall Street Journal's editorial. They write that while they believe Trump committed an impeachable offense, impeachment should, quote, die in the House. So they are against this going forward. They argue that Donald Trump is already finished as a real presidential contender, so they say there's no point in ensuring that he can never run again. For them, for the paper, it's already a done deal. According to the Wall Street Journal, an unprecedented and vindictive impeachment trial after the president leaves office, they say that could actually really backfire by rehabilitating him politically.
Now, we've seen these kind of rather extraordinary images, haven't we, Alison, in Washington of 15,000 National Guard troops who have been deployed there ahead of Joe Biden's inauguration. How's that been covered in the papers and online?
These images were being really widely circulated on social media, with a lot of people wondering, what are they doing? Are they being housed there? What's going on? The U.S. News and World Report here explains that groups of them at a time are actually just taking breaks while they're on duty, so they're not going all the way back to, where they're living. They're just taking breaks in these designated resting areas. But the photos are really impressive, and their presence like this in the Capitol building is quite unprecedented. The cartoonist Matt Davies of Newsday jokes here that Donald Trump is getting another military parade, which we all know he loves, except this time it is an anti-presidential insurrection unit that is parading around the Capitol.
All right, Alison, we're going to move on then from US politics to Italian politics, because the former prime minister there, Matteo Renzi, has sparked chaos because he's pulled his party out of the ruling coalition.
Yeah, and this is a decision that raises a lot of fears that Italy could have to go back and hold elections in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic. Matteo Renzi getting some pretty harsh judgment in the papers for it. Il Fatto Quotidiano, which is close to the Five Star Movement, a different party from Renzi's, it's worth noting. Headlines here, ciao, goodbye, and they turn it into an acronym for irresponsible crisis. The paper accuses Renzi of collapsing the government in order to, quote, eliminate Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte. The paper's cartoonist, you can also see a kind of down below the photo, has actually drawn him as a spiky coronavirus ball. They call him the Renzi variant. Meanwhile, Italy's communist paper, Il Manifesto, they write that Renzi has plunged the country into confusion. Their headline here is a pun on the name of Renzi's party, which is Italia Viva. Here it's Italia Via, which literally translates to Italy away, I think because Renzi is ditching this coalition. The paper does note that Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte is really doing everything in his power to convince, quote, responsible members of parliament to stand by and support his government and avoid Italy having to go and have elections again.
All right, so these are some of the top stories in the papers today. There's another story, though, that you wanted to end on, slightly less political, but it is a rather unique job offer that's in The Guardian. Tell us what it is.
Yeah, Nadia, this is for all of us who are tempted to make career changes. I know I sometimes feel that way. Well, why not become one of the UK's first ever bison rangers? The Guardian reports that a small herd of 4 bison are being reintroduced into the woods outside of Canterbury in southeast England, and they need 2 people to look after them. Nadia, 1, 2, just saying it's possible. Now, the reason these bison are being reintroduced is to help restore the woodland. The paper explains that bison actually knock down trees by rubbing up against them and eating their bark. And that is good because when trees get knocked down, that creates light, which then helps other species survive in the forest. A warning, bison are the weightiest land mammal in Europe. They're as heavy as a small car, so you cannot be intimidated if you want this job, but otherwise no previous experience with bison is required. They say you just need ecological knowledge, understanding of animal behavior, and a passion to tell others about the creatures.
All right, you've convinced me. Let's do it, Alison. You and me, we're making a joint application. Alison Sargent, thank you very much indeed for that press review on the programme.